All right, y'all. So today I am going to be covering the basics of astrology for you guys. This is something that there is not that much good content on online, so therefore I kind of wanted to go in and kind of help fix that problem because I feel like everyone should at least understand their basics if you are wanting to go into astrology or at least maybe wanting to just learn a little bit about it, know what you're looking at when you're looking at a chart. So that's why I'm covering this, and I hope that you do get something out of it. All right. So, what is astrology anyway? Like there's all this, stuff online with horoscopes and all those things. And you're like, well, what even is astrology? Well, according to Oxford Languages, and this is the dictionary that comes up when you just type in define astrology into Google. Oxford Languages says astrology is the study of the movements and relative positions of celestial bodies, interpreted as having an influence on human affairs in the natural world. Now, I actually have my own definition because I don't like the Oxford one. Like once you get into a field of study for long enough and you can kind of formulate your own definitions, you're kind of in the place of your passion. So, my definition is astrology is the study of the correlation in movements of planetary and celestial bodies with events, people, places, things, and collective behavior here on Earth. Now, you may be wondering, well, Eli, what even is the difference? They sound the same. Well, there's a little semantic difference there. The Oxford Languages definition had astrology as a causal relationship from the planets and celestial bodies to events on Earth versus a correlational, because there is actually no definitive evidence scientifically that any of the planets other than the sun and moon, which those aren't even planets, those are luminaries, but we use planets for shorthand in astrology. Yes, we know they're not planets. But other than those two, there isn't really much of a direct effect on Earth. So that is why we use correlational, because there's clearly a correlation, because how would we have such high accuracy rates if there wasn't? So, astrology is not a science. A lot of times, amateurs and people who may not exactly have studied the matter, who like to claim themselves as experts, will like to, make astrology be a science, but it's not because it doesn't have repeatable results. You can't necessarily reproduce it. It's like a spiral. It's going to be slightly different every time because we all have free will. However, it is a framework of understanding the world. So there's going to be themes that are still going to be established in astrology that are still going to be the same regardless. It's just not going to be a specific same result for every specific event for per se. So everyone has all 12 signs in their chart. I don't want to hear that you don't have Cancer in your chart somewhere and that you don't get along with Cancers because your ex was a Cancer and all your other exes were Cancers and therefore you hate Cancers. That is not, we don't do that kind of astrology here because we are aware that in a chart, everyone has all 12 signs in their chart. And I'm going to show you what that is here in just a second. So here is an example of what a chart looks like. Notice how all of, here, let me get a little pen. Notice how there's all 12 signs in their chart. Every single one. And I'm not going to go all the way around because I think you all get the point. But everyone has all 12 signs. Just because you may not have a placement in Gemini per se, doesn't mean you don't have that energy. It's still present in the first house. And I'm actually going to go into the houses here in a second, so I'm not going to get too much into this specific explanation there. So there's a few major chart components, as I mentioned before. We have the planets and luminaries, and then we also have the signs. And then in addition to those two, we have the houses. So here are the glyphs. So glyphs are like the little symbols that astrologers use to explain kind of what's going on in a chart. It's quite literally just a little pin drop, a little pinpoint into where certain energies are focused. So here we have the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. These are what we consider as the personal planets and luminaries. The luminaries being the sun and the moon, and then the planets being Mercury, Venus, Mars that are at least personal. Oftentimes, like I mentioned before, astrologers will use planets as shorthand, including the sun and moon. We know that they're not planets, but we just use it as shorthand. So the more you know. And then the outer planets, being Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, this is what their glyphs look like. This is like your little cheat sheet. You can screenshot this, do what you need to do to remember this and ingrain this into your brain because this is quite literally you're going to be any astrologer is going to say that you're going to have to know all these if you're going to want to progress your knowledge in the field. And then we also have the signs. So kind of like how we were talking about before, and I was showing you around the outside wheel of the chart. Here are the signs. So this is just all of them laid out. So you have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, etc. Also, feel free to screenshot this. Now, how do you locate these glyphs in a chart? So if everyone has all of these glyphs present in a chart, symbolizing certain energy concentrations, how do you locate them? Well, first you have to cast a chart. So I always recommend this is a free resource. You just go online, it's astro.com, or also known as AstroDeets, like that's the brand name. And just go over to astro.com and I'm going to show you how to create your own chart. So after every class I teach, or actually before every class I teach, I always cover this so that way in case people don't have their chart in front of them, they can at least get one real short and sweet for free. So this is the homepage of AstroDeets as of current. You're gonna go and create an account. So all you have to do is just, get an email and set up a password, and you just fill out this information. And so that would be, just you're still filling out emails and passwords, and then you just kind of put in your personal um, information, such as your name and country or whatever. That's really just for your chart. So that way it can cast your specific chart. And you're gonna click the little hamburger menu, and you're gonna click Stored Astrodata. And then this is where you actually cast your chart or somebody else's chart. So you can have up to 100 charts on astro.com for free. This is why I recommend it because you can start your little own database. I remember when I was a baby astrologer, that's what I did. I had a little database in astro.com, but obviously now I have gone on to professional software. So this is a great place to start. So you just go in, you have your birth hour, country, birth town. That's really just to locate what sign was rising at the time of your birth, for your birth time and location. So don't worry about the math and mechanics behind a natal chart just yet, because that is really advanced astrology. I usually save that stuff for behind my Patreon, for my Patreon members who take a lot of classes with me, who also are deeply studying the matter. And so the more advanced stuff, like the more interpretive aspects of this, and how to form your interpretations, as well as how to cast the chart manually, that's all behind my Patreon. I have links in that in my description below if that's something you want to check out. So every chart software is going to have slightly different appearances, but in general, the same gist will still remain. So like in your astro.com chart, you're still going to have the signs on the outer wheel. You're still going to have the planets kind of on the inside of that outer wheel. And you're still going to have the little aspectarians on the side. Like it really just it's going to stay pretty much relatively the same. It's just like I like Astro.com's charts for beginners because it has the little tick mark so you can actually quite literally see the degrees. So you can locate the signs around the outside of the chart. So kind of see how I will have my arrow pointers. So like all of these are just signs. So that is where you will locate the signs. And then you can locate each planet within the kind of the outer ring containing the signs. So, kind of how here I have each of the little glyphs, remember, kind of like what I was saying earlier about, how to find the little glyphs in chart. Like, this is where you're going to see them. So, like, you notice we got Neptune at, here, let me get my little pen again. We got Neptune here, we got the sun here, Venus, the moon, Mercury, Pluto. I don't focus too much on Chiron because it's an asteroid. I think a lot of times people just like to throw it in there to make them sound professional and cool, but in reality, it really is. I only focus on it in very specific situations. So don't worry, just really worry about the planets and luminaries right now. Don't worry about making things complicated by getting into the angles and all the things. So we're not gonna get that deep just yet. And then you can also find the houses here. So I already kind of drew on that. I forgot I kind of drew on that. It's nice and yellow. Can be very seen. So I circled the fourth house here. So as you can see, the fourth house starts in Virgo and then it ends in Libra. So Virgo and Libra are both present within the fourth house. Doesn't mean it's empty. Doesn't mean you don't have the affairs of the fourth house if there's nothing in there. It's still there. And it is in that area of life is coded by the languages of Virgo and Libra, primarily Virgo. So that's kind of an example of how to see those. So now you know the basics of astrology. And it is completely okay if you still feel overwhelmed. That's completely normal. I remember when I was a baby astrologer, it took me probably a good solid 6 months just to memorize my basics, to be able to fluently look at those glyphs and be able to locate them. So it's okay. It's okay. Now, astrology has never been a subject where you can just watch videos and read books and expect to be an expert. It is not that way. In fact, I'm even going to go on to say that very few people who actually start learning astrology will actually continue to be experts in the field. This is because of the amount of mental acumen it has to take in order to properly synthesize and read a chart. Most people are just going to learn their basics and then it's going to get super duper complicated really, really fast. And they realize it's just not their thing. That's okay. We need people who are experts in all kinds of different things. Because if everyone was an astrologer, there's, we need other people to do other things. That's kind of where I'm going with. So it's okay if it's not for you. But everyone should at least know their basics, which is why I'm doing this presentation. Not only will you need to have experience and development in different subcategories within the field of study that is astrology, so like whether you're going into medical astrology or just you're just going to stick with natal charts, or you want to do more consultations, or you want to do business astrology, like whatever it is, you have to know quite literally a whole bunch of it in order to see how it all plays together, in order for you to really be an expert in the field. But you're also going to also have to have that years of experience of reading charts in order to becoming anywhere even close to expertise. It is not just a, hey, I've been doing this for 4 years, I'm an expert. It really takes a whole lot more than just time or study. It really is the combination of a lot of it as well as experience and accuracy. So you're always going to have that sounding board. That's why it is one of those subjects that you, if you really are wanting to be a expert in it, you really have to find yourself a mentor that will be willing to teach you one-on-one. You can't really do this just on a book and expect to be an expert, or just watch this video and be an expert. That's not exactly how this works. It's a great place to start. That's why I'm doing this. It's a great place to start because you gotta learn your foundations first. But if you're interested in dabbling in astrology and even just wanted to learn more about it, you've come across the right page, come across the right video, I will help you get you started. I don't do one-on-ones mentorship. I'm not at that point yet, and plus I don't have the time, even if I was. But I do classes and I do foundations, so you've come to the right place. So don't worry, you're in great hands because the beginning is the very good place to start. quoting Julie Andrews from The Sound of Music. So I also put the full card up there because even though I don't like mixing tarot and astrology together because they're two different modalities, and honestly, if you're paying to go to an astrologer, I would expect you to be doing astrology and not necessarily backing up on other things, unless that's like your stick, unless you market yourself that way. And then if you do, by all means, go for it. But I prefer to keep them separate because I feel like it's a little bit more ethical. But that's just my personal prerogative. Now, if you want to learn more, such as book recommendations in classes, check out Eli Gomez Astrology. That's me. You can go to eligomezastrology.com or even join my Patreon just at Eli Gomez. It's going through a rebrand right now, so it's probably likely to change, but I'll update this presentation as it changes. Also, I have a podcast in the stars with Eli Gomez. Also going through a rebrand. Everything's going through a rebrand. So for right now, this is what it is. I'll update it whenever it changes. Definitely go check it out. It's on all good podcast platforms, excuse me. And then you can also check out the links below and find me there. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all learned something. This is a very valuable presentation if you're trying to learn your basics. You might need to watch it multiple times over again, and that's okay. I remember having to do that myself as well. So every expert has started somewhere. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for listening this morning. Share it if you feel like this is very good information that you might want to share with other people. And then I'll see y'all tomorrow.